so welcome everybody. I am Rachel Justice, for those of you who don't know me, and along with Jillian Levinson, I co-lead the Woman to Woman Gynecologic Cancer Support Program. And we are really excited. This is such an interesting session. I always say that it's a good sign when I'm looking forward to a session myself, and I know that it's information that I'm interested in learning about and hearing, because this is actually something that we've never focused on before. So you're going to have to forgive me. So I'm going to probably not pronounce your name correctly. So it's Anika Jagasia, or how did I?
Yes. Hi, everyone. I'm Anika Jagasia.
Anika. Butchered that a little bit. But anyway, I wanted to just say that we are so fortunate that Anika has agreed to, to do this session for us. I'm going to turn the mic over to her virtually in a moment, but I did just want to start by saying thank you. We got introduced by Anika a couple of months ago at this point, and when we were brainstorming about a possible session and she told me about sound frequency as a therapeutic tool, I thought that is so interesting and something I know absolutely nothing about, and I'd really love to learn more. As Anika is going to explain to you, she is a student and she put a ton of work into this. So I think that you're really all in for a treat as we learn from her and get to know her for the next hour. So Anika, I'm so sorry, I'm going to turn the mic over to you, and I will be quiet. And if you need anything from me, I will just be here as a listener. So thank you again so much.
Yes, thank you for having me, and thank you for the wonderful introduction, Rachel. Today, I'll be presenting on sound frequency as a therapeutic tool. This is a topic that I recently have been interested in. I'm learning more about it, so I'll be presenting on my findings and learnings, and obviously the room for future expansion in this topic too. A little bit about myself. I'm currently a post-bac student at Columbia, and I recently graduated from Emory 2022 in the spring, where I majored in human health and religion. And my interest in the field of integrative medicine really stemmed from my major during undergrad, which has really expanded and also taken myself into finding out new interests such as sound healing and sound therapy. And so today I'll be sharing what I've learned about sound healing as a therapeutic tool. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Today I'll be talking about the sound healing and also the benefits and study findings that really are exploring the relationship between brainwaves, sound waves, and frequencies, all as a holistic practice that anyone can implement. And to just begin, I'd like to talk a little bit about the different therapeutic grade instruments that compose of sound healing. And sound healing is the practice that uses these sound waves that are emitted by certain instruments that produce different vibrations that match with your brain waves. And I'll speak a little bit about brain waves too. There's several key or common instruments that we typically see in sound healing practices, such as the singing bowl, the gong, the tuning fork, the Tibetan bell, and chimes. And what's special about all of these instruments is that when struck or played, they produce different vibrations that affect our brain waves in ways that can impact our moods, our feelings, and also our states of consciousness and our current states of being. Later on in this presentation, I'll also be playing a little bit of exemplary sound healing videos that really showcase these instruments. I'd also like to talk about the impact of sound waves on our brain frequencies. When the different sounds are produced, it produces a sound wave that can match our brain's natural rhythm. And this is important because it can have the ability to shift our brain state and ultimately match the input frequency. And as I previously discussed, there are different calming sounds that really emit relaxing frequencies and can promote tranquility by affecting our brain waves. And to talk a little bit about our brainwaves, there are three core ones that I'd like to bring attention to, which are the alpha, theta, and delta state. And what's special about each of these three states is that they all have their own frequency range that these waves fall within. And if you look a little bit closer, delta waves are from 0.5 to 4 hertz. And from that, there is the theta waves, which are the next level above, and then in following the alpha waves. And these different waves are a progression of different states of calmness, and we can influence that through different frequencies. Oh, yes? Okay. And there are potential benefits of using sound frequency for our physical and emotional well-being. I'd like to talk a little bit about the intentional use of frequencies that really do promote like holistic well-being. And in the slide before, when we went through the progression of the different delta, theta, and alpha wave states, we can also look at the different types of physical and emotional well-being characteristics that are also in a progression, such as from all the way from encouraging like relaxation to then pain management and promoting a deeper connection with our emotions that can yield results that make us feel more emotionally balanced and also feel that we have improved sleep quality. Here's a different table with the line of the different brainwave frequencies and the associated mental state. I found that this table really helps like organize the information that I said, because I totally understand that it can be confusing in the beginning. And so I thought that this table really shows that every single brainwave frequency has a different type of mental state and even like emotion or like state of consciousness that we feel and is associated to these frequencies that are constantly happening in our brains. I also wanted to touch a little bit on the history of sound healing to like show some context in history that where it has been used. I've went into a lot of research about different cultural practices where music was used to calm or signify different events. Music incantations have been really recognized in ancient Egypt. There's also historical context where sound healing has been used in like different practices in ancient India. And what really revolutionized the history of sound healing were a couple of key moments where therapeutic sound machines were invented. That was the most recent in the 50s. And prior to that was the discovery of binaural beats. And that is something that anyone can search on YouTube or listen to on Spotify, which are different beats that were discovered in the 19th century that affect your brain in a very like flow state of mind. It's calming, and it's just shown to really have an impact on someone's brainwaves and state of being when they're listening to it. So sound healing has had a feature in history, and it is still continuing to really expand in this new field of looking at it as a therapeutic tool. I wanted to bring attention to this study that I found, which was really interesting, about the sound of a singing bowl, which is an instrument that we will listen to later on in this presentation. And when hit, it emits like a certain vibration that synchronizes with brain waves. And this study in particular showed that the frequency that it emitted resulted in an increased magnitude of brain waves, particularly theta waves. And theta waves are associated with states of calmness, which are optimal during like meditation and relaxation. And the synchronization that the study found is important because it's showing us that there is a relationship between brain waves and the production of sound waves that is indicating positive benefits to listening to. I found this really cool figure in the study that really shows the difference between like before the experiment, during the experiment, after the experiment. So there's 3 points of time that are highlighted, and as this figure depicts, the brain waves of an individual before the experiment where the repeating sound bowl was hit, their brain waves were a lot more smaller in magnitude. And then during the experiment, as they were listening to the sound, their brain waves were increasing in magnitude. And then at the end, it like this figure really shows that it made a significant impact on their current state of being and consciousness, because their brain waves have a significantly higher like jump in magnitude compared to like before. And this was all done with the singing bowl instrument. I thought this was a really cool figure that just like really goes to show that this has potential benefits, meaning sound healing. I would also like to point out an interesting study that I found that explored sound healing therapies for breast cancer survivors. And this study was looking at how like sound healing can show improvements in like stress levels and also heart rate variability. The two indicators for this study was heart rate variability and biofield energy. I looked into biofield energy and how that was measured, and there's a couple different instruments that can measure an individual's biofield energy. I was personally unaware of the ability to measure one's biofield energy, but this takes into consideration like the like different factors such as temperature, and I also believe a little bit about like surveys on an individual and how they perceive their own biofield energy. This study also combined Reiki healing in combination with sound healing, and the study found that both groups did find improvements in their stress levels after experiencing like the sound healing within the experiment. And then to point out like future studies and implications, this study is a recent study, and it looks at the vibratory frequencies of cells in healthy and disease states. And I thought this study was interesting because it's bringing about sound therapy, which is different than sound healing. And sound therapy is a new approach where, similar to sound healing, there is also an aim to really use the vibrations and different resonance that these sounds emit to have an impact, a beneficial impact on our cells. And I believe that this study like really shows that there's a lot more research that's going into the entire field of sound healing / sound therapy, where not only can it affect your brain waves, it can also affect your cells and also the frequencies in which your cells vibrate at. This study also is interesting because it also reviewed and highlighted the frequencies that are generated by different bodily organs in our bodies. And there's different frequencies of diseased cells in our bodies, and it goes to this study goes to show that there is potential in exploring how we can influence the frequencies that are already vibrating in our cells to vibrate at a level that is more beneficial to our own cells. This study also, I'd like to point out, was looking into sound therapy as an adjunct therapy with standard cancer treatments. And based off of some outside and background research, it was interesting to read about the frequency and vibrations of cancer cells and the difference between those frequencies versus a normal cell. So that this study and other studies really show that there's a lot of future implications and applications that sound therapy can have, like, in our body. And to sum up our 3 studies that we looked at today and how sound therapy can contribute to our well-being, a lot of these studies, as well as their recommended future implications, pointed out that there's a lot of potential to reduce stress, pain, anxiety, and help manage those feelings by listening to sounds. And a lot of studies have also found that there's indications for improved sleep, and that can be done by looking at this brainwaves that are associated with sleep, and then seeing how that frequency can be impacted by listening to a frequency for a sleep state of mind. And overall, a lot of these studies do find that there is potential for an enhanced well-being. And ultimately, the studies indicate that this holistic practice can provide significant benefits to cancer patients as well during treatment because of the mental and physical health benefits. And while I'm talking about frequencies and vibrations, in the beginning, it was a little bit difficult for me to understand like what a frequency was. And so that's why I wanted to take a moment and really talk about frequencies. And the unit for frequency is a hertz. And one key concept behind frequencies are the solfeggial frequencies. The solfeggial frequencies come from a unique solfeggio scale, which comprises of 6 main tones. And within each of these tones, there are potential benefits that are associated with these. And usually these frequencies are like played during meditations or during like times when an individual is just trying to become more relaxed or achieve a calmer sense of being. A lot of these frequencies can have different names associated with them, but I took the liberty of choosing the most common terms or descriptive words for each frequency that I found on the internet. And these frequencies they all have different types of vibrations, but there are a lot of unique characteristics or even feelings that they do promote. And so I wanted to just share a little bit about this because frequencies and understanding them can be difficult to navigate. And move along the lines of the studies and what we've covered so far, I wanted to talk a little bit about future directions because a lot of these studies have findings that are indicated from their studies. And so I wanted to just share that this field of using sound healing and sound therapy as a therapeutic tool is a growing field. There's not a lot of evidence at the moment that is very like set in stone, but there's a lot of potential and there's a lot of indications for promoting like well-being through sound as a therapeutic tool. And so there's a lot of growth and there's a lot of exploration that is looking at sound healing / therapy in combination with other types of integrative therapies. So as we saw in the second study, that study was investigating sound therapy adjunct to Reiki healing. And so this Future Directions is showing that it's sound healing and sound therapy is really being used as a complementary technique too, with other types of integrative therapies. And I wanted to conclude because there was a lot of points that we covered today. The main point and recap that we really looked at was how sound frequencies can alter brain states and ultimately promote healing, and a sense of well-being that can be benefited from. There are certain sound healing tools that we see commonly, such as like gongs and tuning forks, especially these singing bowls, and these particular instruments all share the unique therapeutic grade tool value, and they do have effects on well-being as indicated from our studies. And also listening to different types of frequencies, such as like the Solfeggio frequencies, which are the 6 tones that are commonly known to have benefits in certain areas of our life, can show to have potential in being beneficial to listen to. I wanted to also share the Solfeggio frequencies. Let's see, I can play it on Spotify. Okay, so this is an example playlist I put together with this incorporates 9 of the Solfeggio frequencies, and so I can play a few. I'll play 528, and as I showed earlier, each of these frequencies are associated with different types of like feelings, or they just have a different type of like purpose and aim when an individual's listening to them. I'll play this one. Can everyone hear? I'll play a couple of them. Okay. I also have another video that we can watch. We can save this for after Q&A or before Q&A actually. This is a video that we can all listen to for a few minutes. Just close our eyes and just like relax and listen. And this particular video incorporates a few of the sound healing instruments that we talked about in the beginning. So I will go ahead and play this video. Okay.
Can I just say something? Can I say something?
Sure.
The sounds fascinate me because I have tinnitus and I use sound therapy to block out the tinnitus. And that last one was really interesting. If I was to wanted to find that particular sound, like what is the name of that?
Oh, yes. The presentation I believe will be sent out after this. The
Okay.
link is the same one, but I believe you can find, there's so many different variations, especially with different instruments. Typically, you can find any good video as long as you type in like sound healing or like sound healing with, and then you can list off different instruments if you particularly like the chimes or the singing bowl or gong. I chose that video in particular because I think it did a good job of incorporating a lot of the sound therapy instruments, because typically there's like only the singing bowl or there's only like the gong. But I think this particular one did a really great job of incorporating like chimes and even a maraca of a sort, as well as like the gong and singing bell and tuning fork.
Yeah, that actually was an excellent sound.
I'm glad, yes. Let's see. Okay, so I have my Q&A session. We can ask questions, and then I also wanted to touch a little bit about the references. There's many books that I found that really provide a lot of helpful background, especially theory and evidence for using sound as a healing modality. There's a lot of books that talk about the historical and cultural context of sound and how it has been used throughout history. I wanted to point out that as a reference for anyone. The studies, if anyone would like to look more into them, are cited on each slide, and there's a lot of sources too.
So thank you so much for putting so much research into this presentation and for sharing your knowledge and letting us kind of learn with you as you are learning about this. It was really, really great. And I hope that you'll come back. Anika's going to be volunteering for a year, for the academic year, with the hospital. And so hopefully you'll come back and do another presentation for us at some point later in your time here, because this was really, really wonderful. So thank you all so much. Again, as a reminder, this will, the recording of this will go into our video library along with a copy of the slides. And in the interim, if you'd like to get an individual copy of the slides, please just email woman-to-woman@mountsinai.org, and I will send them to you as soon as I get them. So thank you so much. And I hope that you all have a relaxing and you use the frequencies that surround you in your lives today to achieve whatever your goals are in terms of what you are looking for. But thank you again so much. It was really wonderful spending this interesting and informative hour with all of you. So,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, you. Thanks.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank
thank
you,
you.
everyone.
Bye. Bye.